Hello, everyone. Thank you again for coming to this dinner. I hope you're enjoying the first course. I think the second course will come now once we start talking, so we should hurry. We're here to talk about the impact of AI on the business world, and indeed the world at large. Very small topic. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to get straight to it, and to you, Athena. So one of the things about the public conversation about AI is that quite often it ends up being focused on the companies behind the technology, what they're doing, what people like Jared are doing, what people like you, Ravi, are doing. But of course, a key reason why it's so important is that it's having a much broader impact, right? Including on companies such as yours. So ahead of this panel, to get ready, I had a Pepsi. And what I want to hear from you is about how AI behind the scenes is bringing, bringing that product to me, to everyone, and how else it's transforming your business.
Yeah, awesome. Well, firstly, lovely to be here. Thank you, Nikhil, for the question. In PepsiCo, just to give a bit of a context, we are a 95 billion company. And we operate in pretty much every country in the world. So as such, having 320,000 employees who touch, make, move, sell, and create product and experiences for the consumers on an ongoing basis, it's one of the key imperatives for the organization. So when we designed the AI strategy of the company, which was an evolution of the digital strategy of the organization, we said, okay, how can we make, number one, the lives of our employees better? Which means take out the manual tasks of the organization. And subsequently, when it comes to all the products that you guys put in your basket, Gatorade, Cheetos, Fritos, Pepsi, obviously, Aquafina, Quaker, I'm using some of the products that we have in the portfolio. And how do we make sure both innovation, but also the sales process becomes much more automated? So we've done a couple of things in the past years. One is we have fully digitalized the order. So we have created an AI automated order. So when you buy, when you sell, when you engage with a customer, the big customers like Walmart, the smaller customers like every mamas and papa shops, the customers can engage directly with the platform. So we can take out the manual tasks from the sales agents. We have partnered with companies like Salesforce to create a superior customer experience in an omni-channel way, leveraging real-time insights and Agentforce to be able to do that. But I would say more importantly, if you were to think of how the internal employees have managed to embrace AI, we have said, okay, how can we ensure that through this process, we empower not just with the tooling, but also with the capabilities to be able to do that at scale. So I think we are one of the very few companies that all 320,000 employees have been trained in AI in every single market in the world. So, and also, lastly, with the board, we have an AI-first strategy, which is something that goes through the board committee every quarter, and we ensure that we track and trace the viability of the program. So all that to say that for us, AI is not just another technology capability. That's why it sits under me, the Strategy and Transformation Officer, because it's part of our business enterprise strategy of the organization with very clear KPIs, financial KPIs on how we track and trace, and how then it drives profitable growth for the company.
Ravi, one of the things that you do and that your company does is help companies such as Athena's embrace AI, use it in their business. And she already mentioned her employees and how they are training up. Part of the conversation about AI's impact on the business world, the world at large, is what it will do to all kinds of employees in all kinds of settings, i.e. jobs, right? And I know that you have a somewhat different thesis to the one that we often hear about, which is that you think that AI will actually help us grow entry-level jobs, right? So I wonder if you could elaborate that a little bit for us.
So thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. So companies like Cognizant take technologies from Jared's company and actually deploys into companies like PepsiCo. So we are the bridge. So what do we do? I mean, Athena spoke about the embrace of AI in enterprises. It's very complex. The conversation for the next 24 months is primarily about infrastructure, chips, electricity, compute, but the bridge to enterprise AI is very complex. I'm just going to highlight a few things. First, agentic cycles are much more complex than software development. Agentic cycles, are complex because you have to create an interplay between agentic capital and human capital. You have to create an interplay between the deterministic code, which is sitting in SaaS layer, and actually migrate it to the AI native layer. It's also, agentic journeys are complex because agents actually are action-oriented. So to a large extent, say, for example, in software development cycles, you scope, you design, you develop, and you deploy. In agentic cycles, you scope for outcomes. You design for behavior. And when you maintain, unlike software where you keep the lights on, you have to actually supervise it. So with regards to human capital, there are a variety of things which will change. First, as you apply this on software cycles, almost everybody knows this. It is the single largest use case for AI. So 30 to 40% of the code we write in our company is actually very assisted by AI algorithms. We are actually hiring now more school graduates than ever before. And the reason why we are hiring more school graduates is because the path to expertise is much quicker. You can actually lend expertise on the fingertips. In fact, the asymmetry between people and the asymmetry between enterprises is no longer intelligence. It's actually applying intelligence. The gap between occupations is going to shrink. The gap within an occupation is going to shrink. And productivity is going to take a leap. In fact, we did an analysis at Cognizant. The top 50 percentile of the communities gets 17% productivity. The bottom 50 percentile actually gets 36% productivity. So it's an equalizer, as I call it. So there are a variety of things which are going to change as we go forward. Interdisciplinary skills are going to be much more premium than skills which are related to expertise. Interdisciplinary skills at the intersection of technology and a domain. So the way we are seeing this is it's a productivity tool on one side. It's a double engine transformation. It's a productivity tool on one side. On the other side, we can actually apply it for creating new products and new services. So on one side, you have productivity. On the other side, you are able to reinvent, reimagine an enterprise function, an enterprise workflow, or an enterprise process.
So, I mean, I detected a note of optimism in there. And that's why I want to go to Jared now, because your colleague, your co-founder, was quite recently very not so optimistic about US unemployment spiking by quite a lot, potentially, right? Double digits because of AI. And it was sort of seen as a warning call that went around. I wonder what you think and what you think more broadly about the impact of AI and the kinds of products that you're developing on jobs, on society at large.
Yeah, so I get the easy questions. I think that something that probably most, maybe everyone in the audience who works on AI as a researcher like I do agrees with is that AI is going to keep getting better. It's going to keep getting more capable. Hopefully, along those lines, it'll keep getting safer. It'll be easier for teams like Ravi's to integrate AI into companies and enterprises because if AI is safer from things like prompt injection and misuse, then you can count on it. It's more secure. In terms of the impact on the economy, I think it's going to be very, very significant. I think that in the short term, AI is going to make everyone more productive and find a lot more use cases. But I do actually worry in the longer term, and by longer term, I mean in 3 years, 5 years, rather than just 6 months or 1 year, because the timescales in AI are crazy for progress. I do worry a lot about these impacts. And I think that one consideration I think is particularly important is that when one particular kind of job sees more automation, people retrain and learn a new skill. But if AI can really augment and eventually automate a lot of knowledge work, then I think that's a bigger challenge for society. The way that we think about this at Anthropic is very empirically. I think all of the progress we're seeing in AI is from being able to do a lot of empirical research to sort of see what works. And that's the approach that we've taken with economic impacts of AI as well. We developed this tool called Clio that is a privacy-preserving tool for understanding how our AI, Claude, is being used in the wild. And that allows us to study it with our societal impacts team, but then also to make data sets that economists can study to try to understand what the impacts are. And from the beginning of Anthropic, we've had a policy team. One of the founders of Anthropic is our policy lead, has been working on that from the beginning, because we anticipated that as AI became more powerful, there would be a lot of societal and policy considerations to take into account. And so we are always sort of working with governments, policymakers, to try to keep them informed if they're willing to believe us about the pace of AI progress. Obviously, we try to bring data to those conversations so that they do believe us, so that we can kind of plan for the impacts of this future. But fundamentally, we don't really know. I mean, maybe AI will have a bunch of, maybe progress won't be as fast as I expect, but we are trying to sort of always think ahead to the consequences of the technology and potentially plan for the worst as well as the best.
So I want to talk a bit more about regulation, but Athena, AI safety is often, again, one of those things that comes up, and the conversation is centered around AI companies, people such as Jared. What does it look like for an organization such as yours? Like, what does AI safety mean for you at PepsiCo? What do you think about when you think about that, and what issues come up? I'm curious.
During the previous administration, when the NIST issued, of course, the big RFP on AI and ethical bias, we were the one industry player outside of the tech companies that submitted the responses in that RFP. Why? Because for us, AI bias and kind of how we use AI responsibly is one of the big priorities that we have made the commitment. Of course, again, board, investors, and of course, internal employees. So we are one of the few companies that have a responsible AI policy. Not a framework, not a playbook, but a policy, which is public to our investors, which we actually submit to the proxy, which we track and trace of how we use AI, everything from the use of the data, the transparency of the models, how we use the LLMs, how we create the use cases. Which is something that we have made a decision we will do it. Why? Because we don't want people to associate, oh, you know, jobs are lost because of AI. Or jobs are created because of AI. No, let's track and trace where AI is used, how it's being used, at all the facets of innovation, commercialization, marketing, commercial, supply chain, logistics, across the board, agro, for our business. And let's then attribute AI where AI is responsible for, either they're driving top line or bottom line. So that's one key component. The other one thing which is very important, and just to build on what you said, not everyone is a knowledge worker. I think we have this nice misconception. Everyone in countries like the US or the rest of the world has a master's degree, has a PhD. No, they don't. So 70% of the employees in the States, you know, they maybe have a college degree, mostly from a community college. So for them, AI is a huge unlock. Is a creation of wealth, is a way for them to get from the base wage salary to a much better salary, much better conditions. You go in every retail store, you cannot find any merchandisers, people who actually can place the products. And for them, being able to place the product with intelligence, with the best of the know-how, in a way where it makes their well-being much better, is a huge unlock for the wealth of the people. So for us, that's why we talk about responsible AI policy. Can we make the lives of the employees better, especially the people who don't have the privilege of going to the Ivy League universities? And that is the biggest mission, where I believe both with the policy and with the powerful use of AI in many of the use cases, we would be able to achieve in many countries, including the US.
Can I just add one?
Yeah, of course.
So I think what Athena said is right. One of the biggest challenges in the digital transformation, in the digital wave, was it actually created a divide between people who had skills and people who did not have skills. If you look at the US workforce, as Athena said, 50% of the US workforce doesn't have a degree. 25% of the US workforce comes from a community college. If you look at the number of open jobs at any point of time is in the range of around 7 million. 3 million people leave every month. That is 1/3 of the US workforce for the full year. The reason why you have this dichotomy, where you have open jobs on one side and you have people leaving jobs looking for the next endeavor, is there is no upward social mobility. And that bridge is very hard because you need skills in all the technology disruptions which have happened before. This is an unusual one. The interaction with the technology is on natural language. It can actually create wages higher because you can actually create throughput, which is significantly higher. And you could actually create prosperity using upward social mobility. So it's probably one of the few technologies which will diffuse so fast because of the nature of what it is.
I'm curious, I just want to stick with what you're saying. Is that also true, do you think, beyond the US? So Cognizant began life in India. One of the things in India is India has, and I hope nobody fact checks me, but I think it's pretty correct, like 12 to 13 million college graduates a year, the fabled demographic dividend, which could very easily turn into a demographic disaster, and like it's a concern for many, many people. What does this mean in places like that, right? Where
Yeah, so in places like India, what's going to happen is, look at every technology disruption. The innovation cycles have been in the valley, and the adoption cycles have actually been significantly in places like India. So the ability to create more use cases, the ability to diffuse it to the bottom of the pyramid, even with people who don't know English, who have a natural, who have a local dialect, can actually access this technology, not for information, but for actually taking expertise and creating new jobs. So India has to start to think about adoption of this technology down the chain, while innovation is going to go up the chain in the valley. And that's what India is actually doing. It's embraced all technologies with significant intensity, and it has actually percolated into every industry in India.
So part of the thinking about this, of course, is the policy piece, which we've already kind of touched on. But Jared, you focus on this quite a lot, as you already said. And in California, Anthropic supported SB 53. And I just wanted to speak to you a little bit about why you did that. Because you also believe, if I recall, that regulation should be at a federal level, say, right? That this is bigger. So just your thinking behind that, why you did this, and where you think this conversation should go now.
Yeah, so I think that the sort of underlying idea behind all of that goes back several years. So Anthropic was the first to develop what we call a responsible scaling policy. Other leading AI labs have developed similar policies. The idea behind that is that we recognize that AI is likely to make tremendous progress very quickly. I mean, as someone who was a physicist before, I feel like the pace of progress in AI is just much, 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 much faster. And so what we want to do is think ahead about what the kind of most serious risks could be from future AI systems that might be much more capable than what we had a few years ago, and maybe much more capable than what we have now. And then we wanted to sort of make pre-commitments around the idea that we would test our models to see if those risks were real, There's no point in wasting energy, resources that can go into innovation if the risks aren't real. But we committed to test for whether some of those risks would be real. For example, risks like terrorists misusing AI. And to then implement mitigations robustly for those risks in a transparent way if we got to that point. And so the basic idea around SB 53, I think there are also similar agreements internationally, like there's the EU codes of practice as well, is to basically hold leading AI developers accountable for some of these most severe risks from AI. And so I think it seemed like a no-brainer for us that if California, where, many of the leading developers of technology have been for the last many decades, if California was interested in insisting that AI companies be kind of transparent about some of these risks, that we would support that, since it's something we'd been doing for quite a while.
So we only have a few minutes left, so I would want to end with just a quick question to all three of you, perhaps starting with you, Ravi. Thinking ahead in the next, as well as Jared said, these timelines are so compressed now, but say in the next 1 to 2 years, what in this world is most exciting for you? What are you looking forward? What are you anticipating that's most exciting?
So one of the things I've been working on is an area called context engineering. The ability of agentic capital to know the hustle of the company. I wrote an op-ed called How to Teach AI to Be a Part of Your Team. It is equivalent to what customization in the software world was. And what it does is you kind of create agentic capital which embeds into your organization, understands your workflows, understands the data flows, understands the tribal knowledge of the company. And then what you get on the other side is a very context-aware AI or an agent. So I think the ability to bring that will create significantly higher embrace of enterprise-led AI. I mean, so much of consumer-led AI is, and consumer-led AI today is kind of a pack of cards because it is funded by the venture capital and it is sitting on a bubble, if I may. The real value of it will actually come as you take the investments which have happened, almost $400 to $500 billion at the back end. It has to diffuse to the front into the enterprises. So context engineering is a space which I'm very excited about.
Athena?
Yeah, well, since we are one of the biggest food companies in the world, food system and the situation that we have currently with food systems is a very big problem for the planet. And for us, problems like how do we ensure agriculture is being done responsibly and using AI to be able to do that, especially for countries that, due to natural disasters, bad practices when it comes to the soil exploitation, is a huge imperative. So using AI for regenerative agriculture, for making sure that our farmers, which is actually the core of what we do, I mean, we are the biggest potato producer in the world, have every technology to be able to do their job the right way. Everyone from the one that has half an acre to our big US farmers that have 100 acres, is a very, very big priority. So solving for the food problem of this planet is probably where I'm hopeful that AI can help a lot.
And Jared, and I saw you nodding a lot when Ravi was talking, so you can't use what he said.
Yeah, I was hoping to use Ravi's. I mean, the way I would say it is that if you use AI now, it's usually kind of a blank slate, and it's not like having someone that you've worked with for months, years, that knows your organization. I think that's important, but I can't use that. So instead I'll riff off of something that Athena said. I think that we'll really see kind of the democratization of expertise. I think everyone can get very, very sophisticated advice, and I think that's going to diffuse more. And I think that by the end of next year, we'll really see scientists, I mean, people like me who are supposedly experts, being able to get really, really sophisticated advice from AI that speeds up scientific research.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, I want to thank all of you, and thank you for listening to all of us.